Welcome to Newswire, news for Nebraska's farmers and ranchers. I'm Cassie Hobel-Heinrich, Communication Coordinator for Nebraska Farm Bureau. This week we're talking about international trade and the critical need to all Nebraskans that the new United States-Mexico-Canada agreement be ratified by Congress. The U.S. Senate is expected to pass the agreement once acted upon in the House. Action in the House is entirely dependent on House Speaker Nancy Pelosi scheduling a USMCA vote. Mexico ratified the USMCA in June. Canada is waiting to see if the U.S. will follow suit. Speaker Pelosi is in Omaha Saturday evening for a political event. Nebraska Farm Bureau, members of the Nebraska congressional delegation, and others have signed a letter to Pelosi urging her to schedule a USMCA vote. These trade deals are crucial, especially as the latest data from the USDA Economic Research Service shows U.S. exports of commodities produced in Nebraska continue to lag in 2019. With exports of agricultural goods making up nearly 30% of cash receipts in Nebraska, senior economist for Nebraska Farm Bureau Jay Rempe keeps a tracking eye on global markets. And what he's seeing for commodity values from January to August of this year compared to the same period last year isn't all good news for Nebraska farmers and ranchers.
And unfortunately, what we found for a lot of the commodities that are important for Nebraska, like soybeans, corn, hides and skin, which come off of our packing industry and our beef industry, all the exports so far this year, the value of exports are down.
Rempe says the latest data from the USDA shows U.S. export values of corn down nearly 33% and hides and skins down 30%. Soybeans are off a bit, down just 2%. But there are a few bright spots.
Couple bright stars for us right now. Our wheat is up. The value of wheat exports are up 24%. That's not so much reflective of an increase in volume, but it's reflective of a little more of higher prices. And we've seen some production issues elsewhere in the world. And so we're seeing some increased wheat, which is good for our wheat farmers. And then red meat exports, beef are staying about even as compared to last year, and last year was a record year.
Rempe also noted pork exports gained 12% this year because of demand in South Korea and China. He says there are several contributing factors to the lag in commodity exports, including trade disputes.
There's a couple reasons for what's going on. One is the trade disputes that we're in, particularly on some of the meats and soybeans in China. And some of the other trade disputes we're in is that. The other is we've seen a higher dollar value this year, which makes our exports not quite as competitive into other markets because of the higher value of the dollar. Folks can't purchase as much, and we're seeing that more in the corn. Our corn exports, our corn is not very price competitive right now compared to South America or Ukraine. And then finally, just the whole global economic outlook. The global economic growth was a little slower this year.
Rempe says the U.S. has run a trade surplus in agricultural goods ever since 1959, but that streak could be in danger this year. The surplus is running at just $800 million through August of this year, down from $6.4 billion last year. And when it comes to ag states like Nebraska, a trade surplus is a good thing.
It's kind of a symbiotic relationship, but from a state like Nebraska that produces corn, beef, soybeans, we want that surplus. We want to sell more overseas than we buy.
Rempe says he'll be watching to see how agricultural exports pan out the rest of the year. But you can do your part on the trade front by helping to get the U.S.-Mexico-Canada agreement across the finish line. Click the Take Action button on our website, nefb.org, to contact Nebraska's congressional delegation and let them know you support passage of USMCA and reassure them a vote for USMCA is good for Nebraska. Well, we hope you'll join us for Nebraska Farm Bureau's Policy Forum on November 21st in Kearney. The power of Farm Bureau lies in its member-driven policy development process, and policy development season is underway. County Farm Bureau policy resolutions are due to the Nebraska Farm Bureau Home Office by November 8th. You can email those to Whitney Tiedemann at whitneyt@nefb.org. And just another reminder, applications for the next class of our Leadership Academy are due November 4th. If you or someone you know is a Farm Bureau member and involved in production agriculture or agribusiness and wants to be an exceptional leader in the county, community, and state, apply online at nefb.org under the Get Involved tab. Thanks for watching this week's Newswire. To see past episodes or any stories you might have missed, visit nefb.org and click on the Newsroom tab. We'll see you next time.